President Trump meets with the president of Ukraine today for talks. And former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and the frontrunner in the race to be the next mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, faced off last night in a debate. Good morning, I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy meets President Trump today at the White House. The meeting comes after Trump announced he'll meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Hungary in a couple of weeks. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports they spoke by phone yesterday.
President Trump says it was a productive call with Putin. One of the topics was Ukraine's request for long-range Tomahawk missiles.
I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea.
Before the call, Trump suggested he might sell Tomahawks to Ukraine and expressed frustration with Putin, saying the Kremlin leader doesn't want to end the war that is making Russia look bad. Now he says he will meet Putin after top U.S. and Russian diplomats make the arrangements, and he'll talk to Zelenskyy about what he heard on the call. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton alleges President Trump is weaponizing the Justice Department against him. This comes after Bolton was charged with 18 criminal counts yesterday for allegedly mishandling classified material. NPR's Ryan Lucas says the indictment alleges this includes sharing classified information.
The indictment doesn't go into a ton of detail on that, but it does provide some. It says that one document, for example, reveals intelligence about a foreign adversary planning a missile launch. Another has intelligence about an adversary's plans for attacks against U.S. troops in a foreign country. There's very sensitive information related to human intelligence sources, so spies. There's covert action. So these are really very sensitive materials classified up to the highest level.
NPR's Ryan Lucas reporting. Venezuela is asking the UN Security Council to investigate what it's calling a series of recent assassinations in the Caribbean Sea. The U.S. has destroyed several boats and killed several people in recent weeks. President Trump says they were engaged in drug trafficking but provided no evidence. Venezuela's ambassador to the UN, Samuel Moncada, says his country does not want conflict with the U.S.
Our message is there is time to stop this madness. We want to work with everyone. We don't want war, and we know that American people don't want war, even less against Venezuela, with all the history among our countries.
Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine is leading a bipartisan effort to force a vote to stop President Trump from unilaterally declaring war on Venezuela. The power to formally declare war is exclusively reserved for Congress in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. This is the third week of the federal government's shutdown. Farmers are among the groups feeling the pain of the closures. From member station KCUR, Frank Morris reports farmers have lost government subsidies and a promised bailout for them is stalled.
Federal farm subsidies go through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's closed, and now is a bad time for farmers to lose that lifeline. The prices farmers are getting for the corn, wheat, and soybeans they grow don't come close to covering the cost of producing them. Tariffs have a lot to do with that, and President Trump has promised farmers a bailout to partially compensate for their trade war losses. But Pat Westhoff, an economist at the University of Missouri, says that's not happening anytime soon.
Things aren't going to go forward until the government's open again, it appears to me.
Farmers can't expect immediate help when the government does reopen. The USDA has lost about 20,000 employees this year, and every day the shutdown drags on, more work backs up. For NPR News, I'm Frank Morris in Kansas City.
There was a debate last night among the candidates running for mayor in New York City. They included former Governor Andrew Cuomo and Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani. NPR's Brian Mann has more.
Mamdani was the main target in the mayoral debate, facing blistering attacks from Cuomo, who's running as an independent, and Republican Curtis Sliwa. They criticized Mamdani's membership in the Democratic Socialists of America and his past calls to defund the NYPD. Cuomo described Mamdani as inexperienced.
This is no job for on-the-job training.
Mamdani kept his focus on pocketbook issues and the city's high prices.
That's why I'm speaking about childcare, because it's pricing out New Yorkers from the city. That's why I'm speaking about freezing the rent.
With just over 2 weeks to go before Election Day, Mamdani has led in every poll by double digits. Brian Mann, NPR News, New York.
The Trump administration has reached a deal to lower prices for in vitro fertilization. In remarks yesterday, President Trump says EMD Serono will offer significant cost reductions for its fertility medication sold directly to patients, not using their insurance. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is suing the Trump administration over an immigration policy affecting U.S. visas. The influential business group opposes plans to charge U.S. employers $100,000 for each H-1B visa for skilled workers. Doctors in Israel and Gaza say more than a dozen Palestinian physicians taken during the war remain imprisoned in Israel. That's despite a ceasefire agreement that released Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners and detainees. NPR's Aya Batrawi reports on one detained Palestinian physician.
The director of the Kamel Adwan Hospital in North Gaza, Dr. Hossam Abu Safiya, was set to be released in that exchange, according to his family and an official briefed by Israelis. Instead, the doctor's family and lawyer say an Israeli court extended his detention without charge for another 6 months. No public reason for his continued arrest has been given. Dr. Abu Safiya has been detained since last year after refusing to leave the hospital during weeks of Israeli bombardment that killed patients, staff, and his son. The Israeli military raided and then destroyed the hospital, alleging it had been used by Hamas, which staff deny. Physicians for Human Rights Israel says a total of 18 doctors and at least 35 other medical staff from Gaza remain imprisoned without charge. Aya Batrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
NPR staffers and listeners are mourning the death of Susan Stamberg, the network's longtime host and correspondent. She died yesterday at the age of 87. As NPR's Mandalit Del Barco reports, Stamberg was NPR's star.
Susan Stamberg was famous for sharing Mama Stamberg's Thanksgiving relish every year.
Cranberry, sugar, sour cream, onion, and, wait for it, horseradish. And it's bright pink.
Stamberg co-hosted NPR's flagship radio shows for decades, and she also reported on the arts. She interviewed famous movie directors, costume designers, prop masters, and others in the film industry. In 2020, she even got her own sidewalk star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
It's very kind that my name is on that star, but the honor really goes to NPR. First of all, it's shorter, it's only 3 letters. And also public radio. I know it's an old-fashioned, old-fangled medium, but it's the medium of my heart.
Stamberg was also inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. Mandalit Del Barco, NPR News.
This is NPR.